One.
Fellow travelers, friends, welcome to the Dialogues Within. These are dialogues with myself and conversations with my friends. Most important of all, these are honest dialogues steeped in truth. Fellow travelers, friends, today I have someone with me who is a friend, philosopher, and guide to me, an elder brother too. And he is actually the ultimate polymath whom I know, named Mahendra Singh. And Mahendra Singh is a graduate from IIT Kanpur, where he graduated way back in 1971. And then subsequently he went to US. He's done his MS there and MBA there. He has worked for 2.5 decades in the energy sector. And he has seen the transformation which has taken place all around the world. He single-handedly built a business of $150 million, set up a manufacturing plant in China, and was the one who made the infrastructure in Asia Pacific. When he hung its boots, he had put in 2.5 decades of service in the sector, and he was the vice president of a leading multinational. But it's not for this reason that I admire him. I admire him as a human being. A person who strides at least two traditions which I know of, the Indian as well as the Western US tradition. For way back, 5 decades back, he went to the US. He's a traveler. He has traveled all around the world. He's into reading. And besides, being from the technical background, having an engineer's inquisitive mind and inquisitive fingers, he also has green fingers. He's a gardener. He's an investment expert. And so, while talking to him, I have learned a lot in life. Today, I'm honored to have you, sir, on the Dialogues Within. Welcome to the Dialogues Within.
Very happy to be here. It's a pleasure, it's a privilege.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming here. And I look forward to those intense discussions which I've had with you so many times. And I distinctly remember 2 visits which I've had with you, of the many.
Yes.
One was to Singapore. And there we had discussed the Oriental tradition in depth. And then the second one to Seattle, which is more alive because it's been in near past. I still remember those beautiful drive which you took us to Skagit Valley, full of glad air. And then we drove down to Elliott Bay Book Company.
Yes.
What an iconic show. And to the readers, this Elliott Bay Book Company is a bookshop, where book readings are done. And even the customers who come there, the visitors, they are encouraged to write a review of a book and tuck it there where the books are stacked. It's a great experience. If you are in Seattle, do visit that place. But sir, what I really remember of Seattle is your home. What a beautiful home it is. Beautiful garden made with love, your love for gardening. And it sits on a spur, I think, the house. And the view from there, the unending view of the valley and the horizon beyond, as if the whole universe opens out to you. It has some beautiful, pure energy and intellectual energy also. For there are books in that house. Books excite me.
Lots of books.
They excite me, and I feel that books are my best friends, and books happen in life. So let me begin with books. What are the books which have really impacted your life, influenced you? Who are your, secret lovers, or you are the secret lover. Would you like to speak about that?
Yes, actually, I think of one particular book that I'd like to talk about. It's Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
It's about from Napoleon Hill, and it was written about 100 years ago in 1930s. And Mr. Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie, who himself was a very rich person at that time, steel magnate, he asked Napoleon Hill to study the rich people, the richest people in US, to find out if there is something that's common among them, then that will describe, to the rest of the world,
Yes.
if there is secret recipe to become rich,
To become
which
rich.
can be followed.
You're right.
So Napoleon Hill ended up studying more than 500 people, the richest people at that time: Ford, Rockefeller, Schwab, Mellon, Carnegie, Morgan, and so many others. And he interviewed many of them. And his findings are distilled in this book. I just accidentally came across this book when I was about 32 years old. And when I read this book, I said, oh, I should have read this book when I was 15 years old.
Really.
And there are many, many takeaways in that book, but I'd like to highlight two,
Right.
which really struck me as something
Yes.
which were very, very significant, and they changed my thinking. The first is that everything starts with a desire, Ichcha Shakti. And he says, after studying all these people, that actually the fulfillment of the desire is in the desire.
Fulfillment of desire is in the
In
desire.
the
The seed is within.
Yes.
Right.
That means if we have a desire, divinity is tugging at you and
To-
going to
to
help
fulfill.
you to fulfill it.
It's tugging you.
Yes.
Taking you in that
Yes,
direction.
exactly.
Lovely.
So
Yes.
that was a beautiful thought. The second thought that I really loved, and it was very useful for me, was that through affirmations and through visualizations, we can energize our subconscious, where it takes charge of us and takes us toward our destiny, like an autopilot. So these two thoughts are important because they are also inherent in our Sanatan philosophy.
Yes.
Aham Brahmasmi, Shivoham Shivoham. So basically the divinity is in us.
Yes.
And-
Vahi
and we
Atma
can-
Satchidananda
Right.
Mein Hu.
And we can use that divinity that's already in us
In us.
to take us to our goals, to fulfill our desires, to guide us. So it's all within us. We don't have to look for it outside.
Outside.
So that's the reason I wanted to highlight this book, because it's a beautiful book, and I'll encourage anyone who has a desire to excel, not necessarily to grow rich. Of course, it will work for going rich too.
But excel as a
anything-
human being.
Anything.
Anything.
Any
Yeah.
kind of endeavor that you would like to
Yes.
take, any goals you have, this should help. The thoughts in this book
Yes.
would be very helpful. So I thought I'd share it.
But that's a very beautiful thought, and that really brings me, the magic which is contained in the books. In fact, you see these books here. I got many books like
Yes.
this, many
Yes.
libraries.
Yes.
And when I was a small boy, I used to think that these are not books; these are human beings.
Yes.
And at night, when we are asleep, these writers come and sit like this, the way we are sitting, and talk to each other,
Absolutely.
exchange ideas.
Absolutely.
This was like I used to feel as a child, the wonder of books around me. So this book, which you have spoken about, has also been a sort of showed you a paradigm shift in life.
It did.
But besides this, what other incidents, happenstance in your life which would have made you go to some other path? Intentionally, unintentionally, things happen, and perhaps may chart a path of our life is charted not by ourselves. Sometimes it's somebody else who is charting.
Absolutely.
So, are there any things on that line which you
Definitely. It was the year 1998 when I met my guru.
Oh.
That was the most significant event of my life. That was the most momentous occasion. That was the greatest fortune. That was the highest blessing. We have 4 children, and our second child, a daughter, she had many health issues from the very beginning. One of them was asthma, and it could not be treated. We tried all kind of cures all over the world. I also took her to this place in Hyderabad.
Where the
Where they
fishes,
do- yes,
fishes given.
yes.
I've
So
heard
I
about
tried
that.
everything. I all kind of medications
Yeah.
or anything somebody
Yeah.
would tell me.
Yeah.
जिसने जो भी बताया मैंने उसको
हाँ.
follow किया.
हाँ.
But she could not be treated. Then I was in Singapore. I was in Singapore, living in Singapore at that time on an expat assignment, and we were vacationing in India, in South India. We were in Mysore city, and our daughter had another severe asthma attack, which she has had too many before too. और हर बार ऐसा लगता था कि we will lose her, and this time also it was like
That
that.
serious.
Yes, but she survived. I was very depressed because at that time she was just 2 years before going to college, which she would have gone to US for. And in US, the thought I had was, she used to have a lot of these attacks all the time. We had an intuition that she'll have this attack and we'll ready for it. We always had nebulizer, our car was ready with other things, other medications, and we'll just rush to the hospital. But what will happen when she's in college? Who will look after her? Would somebody be even near her when she has an attack? And even if somebody is there who will take her, will take care of her. So that thought bothered me a lot. So anyway, after this visit to Mysore city, we came to Delhi, New Delhi, to return to Singapore. And in New Delhi, I visited my uncle, Shri Prakash Singh, Mr. Prakash Singh.
The famous police officer.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
yes.
you know him.
Padam Shri.
Yes,
Padam
Padam
Shri.
Shri. Yes. He served as DG of UP Police, DG of Assam Police, DG of BSF. He knew about the problem, and he said, Ashok, if you have, उन्होंने हिंदी में बताया, अगर तुम्हारी श्रद्धा है, तो मैं तुम्हें अपने गुरुजी के पास ले चलूँगा, और अगर गुरुजी की कृपा है, तो बेटी ठीक हो जाएगी. So he talked very cryptically, and but anything was good. Whatever, if somebody said my daughter could be treated,
I'm
great.
game for it. Yes, obviously.
So I
It's
said,
a
of
challenge.
course.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, come this afternoon and we'll go. So that's what we did. We took Neetu, our daughter, with us, myself, Usha, my wife, and Neetu, and our uncle with him was the auntie, Chachi ji, and they took us to the Guruji. That was in Empire State. My uncle was in Noida, and Guruji was at that time in Empire State near Gurgaon. It's still in Delhi, but near Gurgaon. So that was a long drive. मैंने कुछ नहीं पूछा उनसे कौन गुरुजी हैं क्या हैं. The only instruction he gave us is follow the drill. Okay. When we lighted the car. So and basically to summarize it, we met Guruji. हम लोगों ने साष्टांग प्रणाम किया उनको, and Guruji addressed me by my first name, my home name, Ashok.
As if he already knew.
As if he already knew.
Okay.
And then we tried to tell him why we had come, and he just raised his hand and said, "Mujhe sab malum hai, back jao."
Okay.
Very lovingly. Later on, he gestured, asked us to come toward him, and then he raised his right hand and he said, "Kalyana Kitta." That's it.
That's it.
That's it. And then later on, my uncle asked me, because he was not nearby, what did Guruji say?
Okay.
And I told him, Kalyana Kitta.
Yeah.
And uncle was so happy, Chachaji was so happy. He said, daughter is cured. I said, really? He said, yeah. And I didn't believe it at that time. But that was exactly what happened. She was cured. And after that, just because of the gratitude, I felt so good that Guruji had taken care of my biggest problem, that I would often visit New Delhi and go to Guruji, just for his darshan. That's it. And over a time period, I saw all kind of miracles happen. People would come with all kind of problems, with all kind of desires, and their desires will be fulfilled, their problems will be gone. So it was something very mysterious that was going on all the time, and I went through so many miraculous experiences myself.
That's amazing.
One day Guruji revealed himself, and he's no longer in his body. He left his body in year 2007.
Yes.
And despite all the experiences I had, there were so many miraculous experiences, including, new lives. My education did not start till he was in his body. My education started much later, when I started thinking about, what happened and how I missed him. He's all the time with me. I feel his presence all the time. And I'm not saying mentally feel the presence. I feel the presence really through fragrance and otherwise. And my education is going on. And I think he has educated me sufficiently to the stage that I'm pretty happy with where I am. I think I understand the basics of everything that I need to understand. So you asked me what was the most momentous occasion.
This was the most momentous. There cannot be anything bigger than this in someone's life.
Right.
And actually, as you say this, I wonder, maybe 99% of life is hidden.
Right.
Only 1% in the manifest world is with us.
Yes.
And that makes me wonder. Because these things, people call them miracle. But no, these are actually people who have been able, perhaps, to go into that unmanifest life and be able to pull out, work at the level of the subconscious, connect at the level of the soul, and such things. This wonder, coupled with wonder, is something, the source of life for me. I try to live a life of wonder and wonder. And I know that you are a traveler.
Yes.
And I feel, countries, places, cities beckon you.
Very
Because I live a life of wonder. So in your travels, what are the places which you have liked, which have actually caught your imagination, pulled you?
I should first preface it by saying that अपना घर सबसे अच्छा होता है.
Oh,
अपना
yes.
गांव सबसे अच्छा होता है.
Of course,
अपना
that
शहर
goes
सबसे
without
अच्छा
saying.
होता है.
That goes without saying.
So now after that, when we travel, the place I like the most is Paris. Yes.
Paris.
I love art. I love architecture. I love history.
Oh, yes.
I love museums. I love when I'm traveling. I'm on vacation, so I love a very relaxed, peaceful lifestyle, and it's all there. Like it, and it's not. There's no other city like Paris, and you have to go there to experience it. The beauty of the city, how beautiful the lifestyle is, how relaxed the people are, despite being high achievers.
Oh, yes.
How beautiful the architecture is.
Yes.
And Paris has more than 130 museums. Some of the best, like Louvre, d'Orsay, and so many others. And what is very fascinating to me is how that beauty was created. And I want to share that with you.
How was it created? Yes.
Napoleon had a nephew
Okay.
who had to flee France.
Right.
And he lived in London for some time.
Right.
And he loved London because at that time Paris was a terrible place. It had narrow streets, winding streets, not enough sunlight coming,
Yes.
It was swampy, there were diseases. It was not a good place to be. So he thought that Paris should be a nice place, like London, maybe much better.
Right.
He did become an emperor later. So when he became an emperor, he wanted to fulfill his dream, to make Paris the most beautiful city in the world. So he hired, so that was the dream, the Iksha Shakti.
Right.
Then he hired Baron Hoffman,
Yes.
Baron Haussmann,
Yes.
and made him in charge of making a beautiful city there. And Baron Haussmann was known for his ruthlessness, for his brutality, for his forcefulness. So he had the right person.
Okay.
But they didn't have the money.
Alright.
Because it would have taken in today's terms maybe hundreds of billions of dollars
to build
to build the city that they built,
Yes.
or maybe even more. But help came in the form of two Jewish bankers from Spain,
The
Perrier brothers.
right.
And they came up with beautiful, very creative way of financing the whole project of
Right.
basically reconstructing Paris
Yes.
in exchange for the right to develop the real estate alongside the boulevards.
Okay.
So that's the
that
story.
was the quid pro quo.
So that was the story. There was a Iksha Shakti, there was a desire, there was an instrument that could convert that desire into reality, and then the resources that made it all happen. And so that's where we have this beautiful city. So the history is very interesting.
So as you said right earlier, the seed of desire
Yes.
is in desire.
Right.
And then when that desire comes, instruments also
Instruments
come.
also come.
They also happen
They appear.
as they happened in this. But of your travels and such things, any anecdote, funny or serious or whatever? Because you've gone around the world so
Yes.
many times.
Yes, there's so many of them. I think I should narrate the one, the first time we went to US.
Okay.
I went with a friend of mine and we traveled together. We were both from IIT Kanpur. We both had assistantship at Case Western Reserve. So we traveled together. We flew Sabina, a Belgian airline at that time. And we were given a few stops, to just enjoy the
Yeah.
stops.
Yeah.
One of them was Paris. So our flight was early in the morning. So at night time, before the day clerk left, he told us that the night clerk didn't speak English.
Yes.
So he said, I'll order the taxi for you.
Yes.
So he said, we're very happy. So next morning, the taxi was waiting for us. We got into the taxi and driver said, Bourget. And our next stop was Brussels,
Okay.
So I assumed that that's how the French say Brussels, Bourget,
Yeah.
So I said, oui, Bourget. So, here we go, and we are at the Bourget airport after half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So we go in there and we are looking for our flights,
Yeah.
and our flight is not there at all.
Okay.
Then we knew that there was something wrong, Then we found out by inquiring them that Bourget was actually the name of the airport
Okay.
where our driver got us. But our actually flight was from Orly, which is the more international airport. Bourget
Oh.
was for more of continental airport.
Continental
Yes,
airport.
Bourget
So
was on the east side.
East side.
And Orly was far west.
Far on the other end.
So we were kind of 35 miles
Away
or
from
something
there.
like that from
Yeah,
where we
okay.
should have been. So we rushed, we made our flight, but I think it was not funny at that time.
But
when
in
reflecting
retrospect,
back,
in retrospect,
it was
it was
a very unique, funny
very
experience.
In retrospect,
Right.
yeah.
I should probably continue. I can tell you then. Our final stop was New York
yeah.
before we go to Cleveland. So
Yeah.
our flight got into New York pretty late at night.
Yeah.
Our connecting flight was in the morning. So we found out from people, what time our flight was. We could look at the, our ticket, and they found out, which gate it left from. That was GFK. So we went to that particular gate, and we thought, it's night time, so why should we go to the hotel just for a few hours? We stayed there. Clock kept ticking, and we were like within 2 hours of the flight, and
Yeah.
still nobody showing up. There's nobody at the gate.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to worry. Now it's 1 hour before the flight time. Now we knew that this is not right. So we went to the information desk
Yeah.
to find out why there's no activity at our gate.
Yeah.
So he said, let me look at your ticket, and we showed the ticket. He said, no, you are at GFK
Yeah.
and your flight is from LaGuardia. This is a gate number LaGuardia. So at that time they used to have helicopter flights.
Okay.
So we somehow just
But even
barely managed.
Managed.
To go to LaGuardia and to be in our flight.
Yeah.
And in our hurry, we were just panicking.
Yeah.
The first seats we got, we just sat in it.
Yeah.
And once we found our breath, started looking around, and there were very nicely well-dressed people all around us, suited, well, 3-piece suit, 2-piece suit, very wondering, what's happening here. And the people kept looking at us and kept smiling. Even the air hostess, passed by and kept smiling.
Okay.
And we didn't know what was going wrong. And they were very kind to us. They didn't say anything.
Okay.
Later we realized that we were sitting in the first class
Oh.
among all these very distinguished people who were flying from New York to Cleveland in the
Just
first
the
class.
first seat and
we
it's
were on the economy
Okay.
class tickets. But they were kind enough not to disturb us, not to say
disturb.
anything.
Oh, that's very gracious.
Yes.
Very gracious.
Right.
I don't think this sort of thing happens anymore.
Well, depends on the kindness of the people. Yes.
But which Indian city pulls you? Home is the best, as you said.
Yes.
But is there any Indian city which really pulls you?
Hometown is always the best.
You see, that's the best.
Prayagraj.
That's given.
Right.
Beyond that.
Beyond that, I love the cities in Rajasthan because there is so much history. Being a Rajput, I can connect more to the history in Rajasthan.
Okay.
So I loved, the time we spent in, especially on Jodhpur. That, the fort there is absolutely majestic. It's the best,
Yes.
the best, the most fortified fort I have seen.
Okay.
Yes. Although Chittor is a bigger fort.
Yeah.
Yes, but Jodhpur is a very nice, unique fort. The city is very nice. It has beautiful blue and white houses, which at one time were only for the Brahmins. But now, of course, anybody can have it. But it's a beautiful city. And the fort, the huge fort, sits very majestically at the top of a cliff. It's absolutely a magnificent sight.
Once I was in Cairo, and as everyone visits, so I went to the pyramids and the Sphinx. I was sitting there in the evening, there's this sound and light program. After the sound and light program, the cars which were supposed to bring us back to the city had not come. So I sat down there. I had a very different feeling there. I felt as if I had been to this place before. I was a part of a caravan, and I cannot put time onto it, but I felt I was a small boy and a part of a huge caravan which passed this way. I've been here before. Have you felt like this anywhere in your travels? Say the forts or the places or anything?
Yeah, I always could identify so closely with them.
Yes.
But I didn't have exactly the same feelings you have. Not the deja vu that you're describing.
But something similar. You feel
similar.
a sense that you have been there, or you're very comfortable.
Right. That I was very comfortable there.
I'm very
it's
comfortable.
A place I meant
if the
to
place
be.
is not strange
Right.
to you, it's like
right.
familiar.
It's the place I meant to be. I felt like.
Yes.
Right.
But sir, the people are good and not so good everywhere in the world.
Yes.
But where in the world would you like to interact with which people? Indian and US apart.
Indian and US apart.
Which?
If you're traveling in Europe, Italy is the best place.
Italy.
People are happy. They are not the richest
Oh,
people there, but they are
La,
happy.
la passione.
Yes.
Another passion for life.
Passion for life.
For life.
And they seem to be enjoying themselves.
Yes.
They seem to enjoy whatever they have.
Yes.
And they seem to be quite gracious to others and quite hospitable.
Actually, yes. They
But
celebrate the family too.
Right.
They
do.
celebrate the family too.
So we can identify with them. So that's in Europe. Elsewhere, I think people in Sri Lanka I found very similar to us.
friendly.
They're friendly. They're open.
But I'm a bit surprised. You have spent a lot of time in Japan. What do you feel about the Japanese culture and the country?
Japanese culture is absolutely must be experienced. It's totally different from anywhere else in the world.
Yes.
They are extremely disciplined. Every rule is followed. There are no exception to anything. People are very polite to each other, formally.
Yeah.
But when you dig deep, it's they are very brutal to also with each other. Because there is
the
no
history is very violent.
right. Because
yes.
there are no exceptions to the rules. Everyone must follow the rule. So they are very polite and kind and courteous as long as everyone is following the rule. But anybody who deviates even a little bit from the rule.
You must have seen the cherry blossom in bloom.
No, I didn't see them in Japan, but I did see them in Seattle.
Oh, in Seattle, of
Yes.
course, yes.
We had this huge gift from Emperor of Japan before the Second World War.
Yeah.
So those trees have been planted. They were planted at the University of Washington campus. Quite a few of them, and they're a sight to behold when they're in bloom.
Your home in Seattle, the garden is like a Zen garden. I mean, if Basho sits there and speaks his haiku like in sitting in Kyoto, I hear the cuckoo cry, and still I miss Kyoto. So it can be sitting in Seattle, I hear the cuckoo cry, and I miss Seattle. So you have a little, Zen garden there.
Yes.
At that place. But besides your, travels in the manifest world,
But let me come to Zen.
yeah,
We all have our heroes.
right.
One of my heroes is Bodhidharma.
Okay.
And the tragedy in India is that hardly anybody would know who Bodhidharma is. Bodhidharma was in the Buddhist monastery in Varanasi when it was the center of Buddhist learning.
Okay.
At that time, Tibet didn't have any much knowledge about Buddhism, but the queen there was very interested in learning and
Learning
the
about
people
Buddhism,
also
yes.
and making sure the people also know. So she asked the monastery to send somebody there. So Bodhidharma was selected. He traveled. He originally was a prince from Kerala, so he traveled to Tibet.
Yes.
And he found that they didn't have a written language.
Okay.
So he had to create a script for the
Script
written language.
for the written language.
And if you look at the Tibetan script, it is very similar to North Indian scripts.
Okay.
In how it looks. And that is the reason.
Yeah.
And then he had all the important, scriptures, Buddhist scriptures translated. And job was very well done. It was so well done that the emperor in China invited him to come to China, for a better refinement of Buddhism there.
In India.
Right. And the Chinese today follow, the Buddhists in China follow the Chan Buddhism. Chan is basically Dhyan.
Yeah.
It's how they pronounce Dhyan.
Yeah.
And that is a creation and a gift of Bodhidharma to China.
Okay.
And he was the founder of Shaolin Monastery, which is the largest monastery in the world probably.
In the world.
Yes. And also the home or the place where martial arts started in China. So he taught them martial arts.
Okay.
Because he's from Kerala and he knew martial arts. I forget the name of the martial arts there.
Right.
And he basically taught them martial arts. And after that, he was invited to go to Japan. And by the way, if you go to any monastery in China, Buddhist monastery, you will see Bodhidharma's image. Along with some arhats, who people who had traveled with him. And you can make that out because he's darker than the Chinese, and the Indian arhats are all darker.
Yes.
And he's absolutely loved in China, and they call him Dhamma because they couldn't pronounce Bodhidharma, so they shortened Dharma to Dhamma. Similar thing happened in Japan. He didn't go to Japan, but his version of Buddhism is followed in Japan, which is Zen. Zen is same as Chan.
Chan and Zen.
Dhyan. Dhyan. So he did so much. And in Japan, there is a town, I forgot the name of the town. I went there because I was curious. That town is basically dedicated to Bodhidharma. He's called Daruma in Japan.
Okay.
And everywhere in that town you see Daruma dolls.
Okay.
Which is like we have, हम लोग भगवान की हम लोग इमेज रखते हैं या मूर्ति रखते हैं, to ward off evils or to have good luck. They have the same feeling about Daruma. It's a Bodhidharma. So they want to keep his image, as a figure, Daruma dolls
there.
There. So here is this Bodhidharma, who is one of my heroes, who did so much in the world. And we don't know much of anything about him. Almost nothing.
In fact, once not
he should be in all our history books.
Yes, it should be there in our history books. In fact, right now, since you talked about Tibet, I am reading Rahul Sankratyan's Meri Jeevan Yatra. He's visited Tibet thrice. A very interesting account he has. But, sir, with all your wanderings, I also know that you travel a lot within. You are a deeply spiritual person too. So, this journey, how did this individual journey started? And also for people, what can be the first baby steps to start this journey?
I'll share with you what our Guru taught us.
Yes.
And I'll make it simple so that everybody can understand and follow
Yeah.
it. And basically what we learn from our guru: live fearlessly,
Fearless.
without any worries, without any doubts, without any regrets.
Fearlessness, without any worry, without any doubt, without any regrets.
Right.
Lovely.
Understand your responsibilities and obligations. Dharma.
Dharma. Yes.
Having understood that, and the most important among them is, do not cause any unnecessary harm.
Yes.
Okay? Having understood that, pursue your dreams with full vigor, full
Okay.
enthusiasm, full energy,
Yes.
following dharma. So pursue earth and calm
Yes.
within the
Within the
constraints
dharma.
of dharma.
Within the dharma.
Right.
Right.
And understand that there will be setbacks. But
Right.
I also understand everything is temporary. So those setbacks are also temporary. And never ever give up. Success is yours.
How empowering those words.
Yes.
So
And
empowering they are.
I-
and they
I-
clear so many cobwebs in mind.
Yes.
Right away.
So I just modified, what he taught us so that,
More in the terms of how people can
it's a
understand.
common language.
Yeah, but very beautifully modified people. But let me change gear now. You've been for 5 decades in the US, being in the energy sector, tech side, and you're a loving husband, a doting father, a pampering grandfather also. So you are right now also handling 2 generations below,
Yes.
right? How have you seen, the world change in these 5 decades, both at the technology front and in India, and also at the level of society? What would be the changes you see?
India is certainly changing. Things are better than they were earlier when we were in school. But things really didn't start changing correctly
Yes.
until 2014. But there are few things that bother me.
Okay.
And
Yes.
I'll highlight,
Yes.
3 of them because they really bother me, because that, to me at least,
Yes.
tells me that the foundation of our nation is weak,
Right.
very weak.
Okay.
So we cannot continue
what
like
sense?
that. So I'll explain that. There are 3 things which make me say that. The first is that everything in our country is done in English. Everything is important.
Okay.
Be it the courts, High
Yes.
Court, Supreme Court, be it the universities,
Right.
be it in the corporations.
Yes.
And how many people speak or understand English? Less than half of 1% of Indians are fluent in English.
Right.
And no more than 2% have reasonable fluency, not totally fluency, some
Yes.
fluency.
Yes.
That means we are depending on 2% of our population
For the
to be
major-
engaged
Okay.
for all our achievements,
Yes.
to take us in the right direction.
Yes.
That is not correct.
Hmm.
So we have to engage everyone,
Right.
right? So there has to be a language that can be shared among us all,
Hmm.
and that should be the language that should be used
For
courts,
the work also.
because
Yeah.
today the situation is very sad. People go to the court and they have no idea what's being discussed in their case. I mean, you can go to a court, you have a problem, you get a lawyer,
Yes.
and you can sit in the court and you will have no idea what has been
Yes,
discussed,
yes,
what
yes,
your lawyer
yes.
has said, what the judge asked, or what the other lawyer is saying.
Yes.
So that kind of situation is not good.
In the courts now, India government has come up, even the judgments and the writings are being translated into the
Yeah.
regional languages
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
The movement has begun.
Right.
But we have a way to go in that. I do agree.
Right.
What else bothers you?
Another thing that bothers me is that the way we have pursued our education system, we have disconnected ourselves completely from our glorious past.
Right.
Everything that we should learn, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of learning that went on in our society,
Yes.
in our heritage,
Yes.
and everything was in Sanskrit,
Yes.
right? And today we don't speak Sanskrit.
Nobody speaks
Right?
Sanskrit.
So what we
That's-
have done, we have disconnected ourselves from all the learning that we have had.
Yes.
And that's not good because we accomplished so much, we achieved so much.
Yes.
We should be able to continue on that path rather
Yes.
than go down to zero and try to come up.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So Sanskrit should be learned.
I agree with
You
you
know,
there. I agree with
And
you there.
some people would say that probably that's very difficult, that's impossible. And I'd like to highlight, what happened in Israel. I think Israel became a nation in 1948.
Yes.
No one spoke Hebrew.
Yes, Hebrew was the
But they made it a national language.
national language.
Because they decided that is their heritage.
In fact, the Jews who came from Europe spoke Yiddish.
The Germanic Jews and the people
Yes.
from Central
Yes.
Europe, they speak
Yes.
Yiddish.
Yes.
And the rest people spoke, wherever they lived.
Wherever they came from, yeah.
But nobody spoke Hebrew.
Hebrew, yeah.
But they decided that their heritage, that is their language, and they made it national language. And today, everybody speaks Hebrew. There's a tremendous amount of literature in Hebrew. All their research is being done by Hebrew. The code, the universities, everyone is there's Hebrew.
I mean,
everywhere.
you have hit a very, very basic point, I come from the security domain.
Right.
Let's take a very simple example of Kashmir. When the Kashmir terrorism came in peak and there was an exodus of Kashmiris,
Right.
all the Sharda script which was there was destroyed.
Yes.
Was destroyed.
Yes.
You destroy a language of the people,
Right.
the people will not be able to grow.
Yes.
So that is a very, very valid point.
Right.
But in the context of latest developments which are taking place,
Sure.
and you've been at the cutting edge of
But
technology.
let me come to the third point, which
Okay.
is very important.
Oh, yes,
which I
the
have
third
not
point, sure.
touched yet. For a nation to become a developed nation, to become a prosperous nation,
Yes.
the people they should be self-confident. And they should have a tremendous amount of self-respect.
Yes.
Without that, they cannot produce
Of
what they should be producing.
Yes.
That's a basic ingredient for any kind of achievement.
Yes.
Self-confidence and self-respect.
Yes.
Today, if you look at our history books,
Yes.
our glorious past has been just totally erased. And I gave you one example about Bodhidharma.
Yeah. Yes.
I have so many other heroes that I came across later in my life. I learned about them. I mean, there's Mahendra Singh Bahadur.
Yes.
There's Guru Gorakshnath, and I can keep naming them.
Yes.
And they are not in our history books.
Right.
I just recently read about Gopal Patha,
Yes.
who saved Calcutta
Yes.
from going to Pakistan.
Yes.
Nobody knows about Gopal Patha. There should be a monument for Gopal Patha in Calcutta.
It should
Right?
be there. Yes. Yes.
But so all these things have been removed by design on purpose from our history books to deprive us from learning about how good we are, how much we can achieve, what our ancestors did. And that's not correct. We must put history books correct. We must correct our history books. Put everything that has happened that we can be proud of in our history books. Today's history books are history of our invaders.
That
that's
again
not how it
hits
should
the point, language, education.
Right.
They control the thinking of the
Absolutely.
people.
Yes.
It's so important that we should protect it.
Yes.
And we should be very clear that our culture is reflected,
Yes.
our history is reflected
Right.
in our education, and our language is alive and thrives. I do fully agree with you. But sir, in this contemporary world where life is cutthroat, and you're a man from technology, what technologies do you think in near future will be game changers?
For the world, it's definitely artificial intelligence.
That's going, yes.
But for India, it's our needs and priorities are different. Steel was necessary for industrial revolution.
Right.
Solid state semiconductors are a very essential ingredient for doing anything with technology today.
Right.
We don't make any semiconductor.
Yes. We are trying to make an ecosystem where we can have some. It's a
We are
beginning
trying
to
now.
diversify from Taiwan
Right.
to Vietnam, Thailand, India. All are
Right.
trying to
Right.
diverse the world
Right.
basket. Uh, I also feel that in artificial intelligence, that DeepSeek has come now.
Right.
It's sort of also showed that if you put a sanction on a country, that high-level semiconductors can't be given to you. So innovation comes, and they have been able to come with a model
Right.
which is cheaper. And perhaps after DeepSeek, there will be some spread in semiconductor industry across the world because the status of Taiwan vis-a-vis semiconductors will shift a little. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. The US is definitely pushing for Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing industry
Yeah.
to shift to US
Yeah.
because I think they think, this is just my thought,
Yeah.
that Taiwan, one day will be part of China.
Yes.
And then they can't rely on Taiwan long term
Yes.
to be a supplier to them.
Yes.
So they want the technology and that manufacturing capability, to be in US. We should have the same thoughts in India. We should develop our semiconductor industry here because without that there is no future. If we don't have semiconductors manufacturing in the country,
Then
we
it
cannot be confident about or sure about what we can do in future because our source of supply can be cut off anytime.
Right. Right.
So
That
we
can
must
happen.
be self-reliant
Yes.
in semiconductor manufacturing of the highest order.
So another thing is that in India we have, the numbers,
Yes.
the populations
Yes.
there, and young. We call it the demographic dividend, but huge number of these children are unskilled. They need upskilling. We have missed the manufacturing revolution. We are into services sector. What are some basic skills which India, artificial intelligence cutting edge,
Right.
and semiconductor is there at the top. What are some basic skills, say school and college level, which should be essential in the curriculum that our base, the scientific base, becomes strong and we become competitive in future?
See, our education system is not geared to serve the complete infrastructure of industry.
Right.
We try to create, because of IITs and IISCM, institutions like that, good engineers, good scientists.
Yeah.
But we have not tried to create good technicians, good
Yes.
carpenters,
Good
good
carpenters.
electricians,
Yes.
good plumbers,
Yes.
good people in the middle level.
Middle level.
We
yes.
don't have, we should have some kind of a very broad-based education system
Yes.
to develop such people, and we should have some certifications
Yes.
where, for example, if you have
Yeah,
to
the
build
certification will standardize the
right,
outcome.
right, and
Yes.
if you want to build a commercial building or industrial building,
Yes.
you have to use such certified
Yes.
people. Otherwise, your building will not be considered correctly done.
Right.
And that if we do that, automatically the wages and the income of such people will go up, and the
Exactly.
prestige and respect will go up.
Yes.
Because that's a handicap today. People
Yeah.
don't want to be carpenter or a plumber or electrician
Mhm.
because their income is not going to be too much, they think.
They
They won't get the respect in the society.
Respect is, but the income they will get. But if you go into the market, you don't get plumbers,
Right.
you don't get electricians.
Yes.
In fact, I read somewhere that a plumber, say in US, will ultimately earn more than maybe a master's in English literature if he's a good plumber.
If he's a good plumber.
If he's a really good plumber.
Yes.
So these skills, there is some sort of a social that perhaps that people don't want to be plumbers or electricians or such things in India. Somehow we should break that.
Right.
Another thing which is happening and I observe is that the youth in India are under tremendous stress, especially from say the age of 20 to 35. There is, aspirational pressure of the parents, and then the peer group pressure. The social media is sucking them in, sometimes in a very bad and wrong directions. So, from the body, mind, and soul point of view, what advice would you like to give to the youth of India, or for that matter, the youth of the world?
Sure. Well,
You
about
spoke.
India, I'm
Yes.
more,
Yes.
I can speak more coherently, I guess.
Yes.
I think the stress in the society is because people don't understand our basic heritage.
Yes.
They don't have understanding of what is India.
Yes.
What is the meaning of life
Yes.
in the Indian context.
Yes.
And meaning of life is basically Purusharth, right? We must understand our dharma,
Yeah.
and then we must pursue earth
Yes.
accordingly, and then calm accordingly,
Yes.
right? And of course, moksha, we can't do that ourselves. But
Yeah,
that's higher
that may happen.
Right.
We cross that bridge when
Right.
it comes. Yeah.
So basically, the problems happen because people don't understand these dimensions.
Yes.
Of the reasons why we are here in this life.
Right.
And they aspire to things just by looking at what's there in the movies or what's there in the advertisements, and suddenly that there's no concept of dharma, and their aspirations about calm and earth are very high,
Very high.
and without the confinement of dharma.
Right.
So the pursuit of earth becomes
Yes.
immoral, unethical, and same with the pursuit of calm.
Yes.
So I think that's what we should do. We should go back to making sure that our people, understand our heritage, because
Right.
they cannot function, properly without dharma. Without understanding what our obligations are, what our responsibilities are,
Yes.
and so unless that's understood, earth and calm would only lead to problems and frustrations and stress,
Yes.
which is what's happening today.
And so the ultimate trifecta, we all are looking for wealth, health, and happiness.
Yes.
For wealth, we are doing a lot.
Sure.
All of us do something to get
Yes.
some sort of
Yes.
wealth.
Yes.
For health, many of us do things. But for happiness, we want it to happen.
Right.
How to get happiness in life?
I'll repeat what our Guru said. Again, I'll repeat it.
Yes.
Live fearlessly.
Yes.
Without any worries.
Without
Without any doubts.
Yes.
Without any regrets.
Yes.
Understand your responsibilities and obligations, then to pursue your goals of earth and calm. And realize that everything is temporary. So there will be minor setbacks, sometimes major setbacks, but they are only temporary. Keep pursuing your dreams with full vigor, with full enthusiasm, and having realized that you have done what you could to the best of your abilities, we must also learn to enjoy what we have at that stage,
Yes.
who we are at that stage, where we are at that stage. So we can't look for material goals to make us happy. Once a material goal is achieved, 10 more appear in our mind.
Right.
So seeking material benefits, material goals is not going to lead to happiness,
Okay.
which is a basic fundamental problem and dilemma for our society, for everybody. So we must find happiness where we are, but we can find that only if we realize we have done the best we could to be where we are. So if we have done the best we could, enjoy.
It's so comforting and soothing to hear this again, and the wisdom of it all. It's still to sink in with me. I'll further reflect on it. But one last question. When we just started the conversation, the word home has occurred very many times. From your words, it's come. तो ये जगत तो एक सराय है, फिर क्यों इसमें तू रमता है? What is home? What is home to you, and what is home to this world?
Home is where we came from. I'm going back to our Sanatan roots.
Right.
We go through various lives, one after another. But our ultimate aim is to go to our home, where we came from, moksha. And we can do that if we make a serious effort to stay within the realm of dharma And hopefully we'll have Sadhguru one day, because we need a Sadhguru to take us to our home.
Can I ask you a last stupid question? I asked everyone this question, which is totally out of context of this conversation. It's the child in me asking, forgive me if I'm funny and stupid. Do you believe in aliens?
I believe that there is life elsewhere in the world, in the universe.
In the universe, yes.
Yes, I do believe that, because the universe is too big. We are part of a solar system, and right now we don't even have the capacity or intelligence or the wherewithal to go to another planet. We can't do it. It's not going to happen in our lifetime. In terms of putting a human on Mars, which is the nearest planet. Forget about planets which are far away. Our solar system is part of a galaxy. There are thousands, maybe millions of such solar systems.
Yes.
Our galaxy is part of a meta-galaxy.
Absolutely.
The nearest galaxy to us is Andromeda.
Yeah.
Right? Ours is Milky Way, then there's Andromeda, and there's so many others.
So many others.
They are part of a meta-galaxy.
Yes.
God knows. Only Guruji knows what's beyond meta-galaxies. So
Yes.
with this kind of vastness that there is,
Yes.
there has to be life elsewhere.
So beautiful. Fellow travelers, friends, this was such a beautiful conversation with Mahendra Singh sir. It started with the magic of books, and it took us into realms of philosophy, spiritualism, travel around the world, and how places and countries pull, how education, technology, history should be part of our own culture, how to excel in life. And if you think of the takeaways, every sentence which he spoke was steeped in wisdom. We are very grateful to you, sir, and it was really a very engaging, very illuminating, and a very wise conversation by you. Thank you so much for being part of the dialogue with us.
The pleasure was mine, and it's a privilege to be here, to speaking to you, who I look up to you as one of the smartest persons I've run into. Person who is absolutely phenomenally cerebral, who is extremely disciplined. There are many cerebral people, but they are not disciplined, so they are not able to achieve or benefit completely from the capacity they have inside. You don't have that limitation. You have a gift. Of course, we are all gifted. When we are cerebral, let's not we can claim something our own. It's a gift from divinity, but we are putting that gift to the best use by your discipline, by your steadfastness.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate what you have said, and thank you. And I hope that all such beautiful things you said about me are true. And once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.